So our big question for today's lesson is, can I use inverted commas correctly? So the first thing that I'd like you to think about is what inverted commas are and why we use them within our writing. Pause the video now while you have a think about your answer to this question. So inverted commas are used to indicate when someone is speaking. This is called direct speech. So this is where we write exactly what the speaker has said, and those inverted commas are used to show us that somebody has spoken. So I'd like you to have a look at the piece of speech below. Think about what could be improved and what you would change. I need everyone to stand back, said the fireman. Please help, said Mrs. Smith. My cat is still in the house. Don't worry, madam. We'll soon have this fire under control, said the fireman. Thank you, said Mrs. Smith. I'd now like you to pause the video while you think about what could be improved and what you would change. So we should have identified that we needed to include some punctuation and some inverted commas. We can see that direct speech is being used. I need everyone to stand back, the fireman ordered. This is what he is saying, so I need to put inverted commas around the speech. Now, I wouldn't put inverted commas around the fireman ordered because they are not the words that would come out of the fireman's mouth. That is just telling me who has said it and how they have said it. You'll notice as well that after each pair of inverted commas there is a piece of punctuation. So we can see a full stop has been used here to indicate that it's the end of a sentence. We've got an exclamation mark here and commas. You must open and close your inverted commas, so they go at the start of the speech and at the end of the speech. You must include a piece of punctuation before the end of your inverted commas. So like we've just discussed, we've got commas, full stops, exclamation marks. We could also use a question mark. And also your third golden rule, new speaker, new line. If it was me, I'd write these rules down so that they can help me with my activities for the rest of the week. So one thing that people often forget is to include punctuation before they close their speech marks. So we use a full stop if it's the end of a sentence, a comma if you're continuing with the sentence, a question mark if you're asking something, and an exclamation mark to indicate that somebody might be shouting. So an example here, do you know what time it is? Asked the train driver. I know that that's a question, so before I close my inverted commas, I need to include a question mark. Remember, the punctuation goes within your inverted commas. So using a new line every time there is a new speaker helps to organise your writing. It makes it clear to the reader who is speaking. So it also helps to indicate when a new character has come into your story or your piece of writing. I'd like you to decide when and why we need to use a new line in this piece of dialogue between the two characters. So can you pause the video now and rewrite this paragraph using those 3 golden rules that we talked about earlier? Pause the video while you do this. Okay, so we should have indicated that we needed to start a new line when the speech "Stop Moaning" was written, because this is now Dave who is speaking. For our first bit of speech, it was Sydney, and we've moved on to a new character, so remember, new speaker, new line. Then Sydney is commenting on what Dave said. So although we already know this character, it's still somebody different speaking, so we still need to start that new line. Again, when Dave responds, a new line, and again when Sydney responds. You'll also notice that we've got our punctuation within our inverted commas. So there are 3 different ways in which we can present speech. So we can put who has said it and how they've said it before the direct speech. And you'll notice that this is when we tend to use a full stop before we close those inverted commas, as it's the end of the sentence. You'll also see that I have to use a comma before I begin that direct speech. We can say who has said it and how they've said it after the direct speech. So I'm not sure about this, said Michael. You'll see that I've got my comma before I close my inverted commas because I've still got to say who said it and how they've said it. We can also do split speech. So this might be one thing that somebody said, but we split it into two different pairs of inverted commas. So I'm not sure about this, said Michael. I think we should just turn around. I don't need to then say, said Michael again, because I haven't started a new line, which indicates that the same person is still speaking. So for your first activity for today, I'd like you to have a go at the inverted commas activity 1 on the blog, and it can be found under the heading Tuesday Then Grammar. You can also find the answers next to the activity so that once you've completed it, you can mark it. Once you've completed that activity, please come back to the video so we can continue with today's learning activities. So you'll notice that I've now got some pictures of animals doing funny things. And what you are going to be doing for your second activity is you're going to be coming up with some direct speech as to what that animal might say for what it's doing. So have a little look at what we can see the gorilla is doing and have a think. What do you think he might say? So I have said, if I just reach a little bit further, I'll be able to get it, muttered the gorilla. Now you can see that I've used a synonym for said. I've also got my inverted commas around the direct speech, so the words that would come out of the gorilla's mouth. And I've used my piece of punctuation before I close my inverted commas. Now I've used a comma here because I've still got to say how the gorilla said it and who it was said by, so my sentence is not yet finished. Okay, we've got another image to have a look at together. I'd like you to pause the video now and write down some direct speech for what you think this dog might be saying. Okay, so the direct speech that I've written, please mum, just one more song, then I promise I will go to bed, begged the desperate golden retriever who loved to play Guitar Hero. So again, I've got my inverted commas around what the golden retriever has said. I've included my comma before I close those inverted commas because it isn't the end of my sentence, so I wouldn't use a full stop. I've used a synonym for said, so I've got that the golden retriever begged, and I've also challenged myself and included a relative clause. So for your second activity for today, it's titled Inverted Commas Activity 2 on the blog. You have got some different images of funny animals, and I would like you to think of speech to represent what that animal might say. Don't forget to use your inverted commas. I would love to see the fantastic captions that you come up with to accompany these pictures, so please make sure that you send them through to me.